I think it's already 1:03, so we can get started to our webinar today. Thank you everyone for joining us. And let me share the screen with our today's presentation. Can anyone help me verify that if you can see my shared screen?
Yes, I can see that.
All right. Welcome everyone for today's webinar, and this webinar was hosted by ICSA. For those people who already know, I just repeated a little bit. So ICSA, which is the International Chinese Statistical Association, and currently for this association, we have over 1,600 active members, and also we became a special GSM partnership since 2008. So we also have two scientific journals, which is Statistics Sinica and Statistics in Bioscience. We also communicate with our members with ICSA bulletin and ICSA newsletters, and also some other social medias, such like YouTube and also this webinar. So this webinar, we get started from the last year, and basically we focus on two big topic. The first one, which is the technical training. And if you see that, we already have some of the sections. And our next section about technical training, which is happened on March 21st, which will talk about clinical trial data analysis. And the other part for our topic is talk about soft skill and leadership development. And we also already have a 3 section for that part. It's led by Luther's group series. And today we will talking about the campus to Pharma to let you guys know how the interview preparation to be a statistician for today's topic. So if you are interested in any of the past section and you don't have chance to join in, and feel free to scan this code to go to our ICSA website. And also you can find our channel on YouTube to look at the past recording. And finally, I just thank you all our ICSA webinar subcommittees to all you guys contribute for this webinar. And today we have Xiyuan, who is come from the Eli Lilly as our moderator. And also we have Sean from Amgen and Jingjing from Belgium for our panelists. So I will pass the microphone to Xiyuan. You can get started your section.
So thank you, Jessica, for the nice introduction, and many thanks to the ICSA committee for organizing this event. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm excited to be here as a facilitator for this exciting discussion. So welcome to our webinar sponsored by ICSA. So for today, we have two panelists, and they will bring their unique perspectives to our conversation. So first, we have Dr. Jingjing Ye. She is an executive director and global head of data science and digital innovations at Beijing. And she has extensive experience in the pharmaceutical industry and also regulatory affairs. And she has led innovative data-driven strategies supporting the drug development. Also, we have the Dr. Shuang Gao, who recently graduated and started her position as a biostatistician at Amgen in 2024. And we know 2024 is a tough year. And she will bring her fresh insights into the job search process, interviews, and some early career growth in pharmaceutical companies. So today we will have like around 40 minutes of discussion and followed a 15-minute Q&A session. So if you have any questions during the session, feel free to type them and we will address them at the end. So now let's just get started. So Jingjing, I would like to start from you. So could you please share a bit about your background and your career journey?
Sure. Thank you, Sheila and ICSA for giving this opportunity to share with our students who are interested in joining Pharma. My journey started, my background is I'm a statistician by training. I got my PhD from many, many years ago. I think it's 18, if I'm counting that right. So then I joined Pfizer for 3.5 years. That's my first job, and then working with preclinical and translational science. And then that was because of very close to my dissertation. And then after that, I joined US FDA for 10 years, regulating medical device and also the oncology drug. And after that, 5 years ago, I joined Beijing, which is now a global oncology drug development company. And I'm starting my journey as a data science head. So then that's where shifting from a biostat into data science, that's a more interdisciplinary area. So that is a short introduction of my background and journey into pharma. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Jinji. And then let's, Shuang, could you please introduce yourself and share your story?
Yeah, definitely. So before I begin, I like to clarify that everything I share today is based on my personal experience and thoughts, and they don't represent any views of my employer in any aspect. So hi, everyone. Thanks for having me in this session. My name is Shuang Gao. I recently completed my PhD in biostats at Penn State College of Medicine, and my research is more focused on the statistical genetic part. Specifically, I'm focusing on developing meta-analysis method for GWAS and its application to understand the addiction traits like the tobacco and alcohol use. Before that, I earned my master's degree in biostats from UCLA, and I got my bachelor degree in applied math from Emory University. Yeah, I think that's my background. Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing your experience. So during your PhD, did you initially plan for a career in pharma industry, or what influenced your decision to pursue the career in pharma instead of like academia or other industries?
Yeah, so when I was finishing my PhD, the job market wasn't so great at that time. So I was like pretty open to different opportunities, whether that means staying in academia as a researcher or moving into industry. But I do have an initial preference for the industry. So I was open to various sectors because one of the great things I think about having a background in stats or biostats is that we have the skills that are transferable to different fields like the critical thinking, applying stats method to real world problem, collaborating with cross-disciplinary teams. But what ultimately drew me to pharma over the academia was the ability to see the real world impact of my work more directly and quickly. So I think in the pharmaceutical industry, the work I do contribute to conduct clinical trials, support the decision that can lead to new treatments being developed or brought to patients. I feel like there is a very clear connection between the research and its tangible outcomes. For academia, it's also incredibly valuable, I would say, especially it has the method innovation and scientific discovery. But I feel like it often takes much longer to see how your research impact the real world. Another aspect I would say is that I was really motivated by the collaborative environment in pharma, because in that setting, you can work alongside like clinicians, regulatory experts, and other scientists like biologists. They can offer a broader perspective and dynamic way to apply our skills beyond just like theory or method development. And I think another big factor of choosing the industry is like the career growth and stability. I think industry often tends to offer more structured development opportunities and a clear pathway for advancement. I think this helped me to gain like a stronger sense of like long-term security and professional development as well.
I say thanks for sharing. So I heard that we'll talk about your background. You have like research on GWAS study, meta-analysis. Is that related to like the industry or more academia, more methodology?
It's more like a method development. So one part is for the meta-analysis method, another part is for the single cell EQTL method development. So it's more in the academia setting.
Okay, I see. Then you would like to apply your methodology or learn more for the real data application.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you are working as as a biostatistician, I know different companies have different titles. Like for me, I have like advanced statistics. So Jingjing, you have lots of experience. So for students exploring career paths, what roles are available for statisticians in pharmaceutical industry or FDA or CROs and consulting companies? Yeah, could you highlight some key differences among these organizations and roles? Like non-clinical, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I think that's a great question. I think, we can typically bucket into like three big bucket. I think, how you would look at pharmaceutical industry as a whole, because it is an ecosystem. So there's typically in the pharma, which is responsible for developing a compound itself. The pharma that's only its own development, discovery and development. So then the statistician can actually get into multiple different roles from the preclinical, and that's when you're actually dealing with non-human data. So that's when you are having the drug discovery, working with research scientists, research clinical pharmacologists, and then toxicologists, and then dealing with, working with the animal data. And then there's also can be that intersection of the translational research, where you can, like GWAS studies, like Sean already mentioned, the bioinformatics, computational biology, computational chemistry, that has the statistician be able to work with them. Then gets into the clinical development. That's mainly is the big bucket of the opportunity for statistician, where you will be the study statistician, working alongside with our clinical development, like in our medical clinical development. Clinical medical doctors, and then we have our pharmacologists, and we have our safety scientists, we have clinical operations, data management, so on and so forth. So then it's a big clinical development team to actually moving this compound along the human development from phase 1 to 3 all the way through to the pre-market submission. So then and then also the regulatory affairs will be part of that. So then, for the post-marketing side, so once your compound gets on the market, and then there's a whole set of other, challenges can come in and opportunities for statisticians to contributing. And so a big area now for the post-marketing is not only in the post-marketing surveillance, where you continue need to monitor patients throughout the marketing phase. That's a more rare safety event can occur. So then those safety signals, how to identify that, aggregating that, and then and analyzing data will also be part of statisticians, working alongside our safety scientists. The other thing is about the reimbursement, actually. So those health outcome research, and then our working with other agencies to get the drug actually to the reimbursement. So and that's is a whole suite of other opportunity for statisticians to also contributing. And there's can be other like manufacturer side. That's the drug need to be able to be manufactured to the standard of the procedure, the potency to the level where you expected the drug to work within humans. So then there are also the manufacturer side of the statistician can also contributing for a lot of other methodology into that. So these are big bucket within the pharma itself. So then you can actually see quite a different expertise or the knowledge you can bring to the table, and making those quite impactful for the company. And outside of that, we have our FDA. So that's our, besides FDA, we have EMA, which is European Medical Agencies. So then basically these are the global regulatory agencies that will be reviewing your packages and approving it based on its efficacy and safety profile of it. So then statistician can also play in a role as they actually FDA, in US that's more relevant. That's the FDA has a big several centers within itself. The three big center is the Center for Drug Evaluation Research, short for CDER, and then there's the Center for Devices and Radiology Health, the CDRH, and then the Center for Biologics and Vaccine Research. So these are the CBER. So then these are the big three centers for FDA that's regulating different kinds of you can say like the how it's going to be used within the human itself. And then there's a smaller centers like, Center for Veterinary Medicine, that's for the animals, and then the food center. So then there's also a smaller center for I think tobacco research, and then there's also a research center of that. So it's quite diverse for FDA itself. Within each center, there's a statistician. That's basically similar setting, like you will be doing research, reviewing the packages, and then making decision alongside with our interdisciplinary teams for ensuring that this either the device or the drug or biologic, so on and so forth, meet the standard, so that we can actually benefit public health in that thing. So then that's the second bucket of how typically the opportunity for regulatory agencies. And then there's the other is the CRAs and health technology. Those are kind of like consulting companies. So these are basically the support to those pharma companies. So there's also a big partnership within this pharma world, and that's they are typically supporting pharma. They have similar roles within the CROs, those consulting company itself, so that they can actually supplementing either the pharma for the workforce or helping them also conducting their trials and designing trials and things, so on and so forth. So then very similar role we can actually see within the CRO for that. So these are the basically three areas of statistical opportunity into this ecosystem.
Wow, thanks for sharing. The pharmaceutical industry, we have like preclinical, clinical, and post-clinical. Yeah, and for the government, the FDA, statisticians do both research and review the packages. And also for consulting companies, the statisticians help to support the farmer and help study design and help with the conduction of the clinical trials. Yeah, maybe just one more question for follow-up for FDA. So statisticians do lots of review at FDA. Do they also do research or some data analysis? Because as statistics, students in statistics, we learn lots of models to do data analysis.
Yeah, that's definitely is a hands-on, role typically in the FDA. So then there's the statisticians are quite hands-on, from pulling the data, analyzing data, writing report, and all of that. They do a lot of that themselves. So then there also can be research opportunities, because if you actually see some of the emerging trend, especially I think FDA has a unique position where it is opportunity to see across different companies, right? So then if there's similar mechanism of action of compound that was in development into a similar stage, and that they have a unique opportunity to actually look at those emerging trend or similar trends across that portfolio. So there's going to be those kind of opportunity for them to be able to conduct research based on that. So then those are the research questions they can identify, or they can trying to evaluate more. So some of those really interesting research questions, from statistics methodology wise, or you can say, help drive the field forward. Because I used to work for the Center for Oncology Drugs. So then approving oncology drugs. So there is those non-proportional hazard that was when the first the immunotherapy gets into the space. That's a new mechanism of action. So then there's a delay response actually seen in the patients was treating in those type of newer modality of drugs. And then, so if you're actually running a randomized trial, you can think, even though the immunotherapies, for all of you are familiar with the space, like Keytrudas, the PD-L1s, and then these are the things, they may not be immediately showing the benefit. So then the curve itself will be pretty overlap at the beginning of the Kaplan-Meier curve. So then between the immunotherapy, and versus these comparators. But after a certain time, like 6 months, or, it depends on different kinds of different drugs, right? It started to separate. So then that means, your assumption based on the proportional hazard, that means it's actually those hazard rates stay constant throughout. But that wasn't going to be the case when you're actually seeing the immunotherapy comes into the human trial. That isn't going to stay constant. So then once that pattern emerges as repeatedly, I think that field of proportional hazard methodology start to develop, and how that's going to be actually more, fit for this type of drugs for evaluation. I think that took years of course, research, a lot of discussion, publications, but then there is now more of that it's still not consensus yet, but they're more unified way of looking at this. And so I think, the FDA certainly will partner with many pharmas and then the academias to drive that forward for that. So that is one pretty good example. As you can see, that's unique opportunity the FDA can bring to the table, and they can also run their own analysis to be able to evaluate that, because they can actually see quite a different patterns. So that's really making this a unique research opportunity to drive this field forward.
Wow, yeah, thanks for diving into these details. Yeah, I think for students who are still in campus, the different roles, different responsibilities you're sharing will be very helpful for them when they look for the job. Yeah, so Sean, now let's talk about your job research process. So how did you approach it? Can you talk about the timing or strategies you have used? And when did you start, and the application, interview and offer timeline?
Yeah, definitely. So I started my job search pretty much in October 2023, and I graduated in August of 2024. So I was saying it was a challenging time for me, since the job market feels pretty much frozen at that time. There were limited openings, and I wasn't getting many responses initially. But I feel like things started to shift in the spring 2024. And by February, I began to get interviews. And by March, I received the offer from Amgen. And I was getting to the final interview stage for another medical center, but I made my decision pretty much quickly after I received the Amgen offer. In terms of the strategy, I think it's always a good idea to start early, even if you're not ready to apply immediately. Because I feel like starting early gives you a sense of the market response and allows you more time to prepare for the interviews and refine your application materials. That said, for the full-time roles, especially industry, I feel like the timing could be a little bit tricky from my perspective, because I feel like a lot of companies prefer to hire candidates who are closer to their graduation date and available to start soon. So while there is no harm in starting early, it's important to be patient and stay calm, because I feel like the opportunities might not appear right away, and they often start picking up closer to our graduation timeline. In terms of the strategy, I think another thing I tried, I think one of my big focus was networking. I reach out to alumni on LinkedIn to get an inside view of different roles and company cultures, and I do trying to get referrals where is possible. I think another good way is to attend conferences. For me, from a more genetics background, we attend the ASAG, the American Society of Human Genetics conference. If students are more from the biostats or trial design background, maybe JSM is another great options. And I also try different job portals, not just using LinkedIn, but also sites like Indeed, because I feel like some smaller companies or startups, sometimes they post there exclusively. So at the same time, I will focus on preparing for the job talk, preparing for the technical and behavioral questions, polishing the CV. So overall, I think the process might take time, but staying consistent and being open to different strategies really helped me to navigate through the job search more effectively.
Oh yeah, wow. Yeah, as an audience, maybe you can say Sean has a very excellent background, and 2024 is really a tough year. So still she started searching the job very early, almost 1 year earlier, and the networking, joining the conference. And for the approach, she searched in LinkedIn and Indeed. Yeah, oh, it's my first time to hear about Indeed. Yeah, and we will talk about more the preparation and the resume in our later topic. So yeah, so for fresh PhD, so Jingjing, have you ever hired someone fresh PhDs And what do you look for on a resume when evaluate a fresh PhD or candidate? Yeah, the candidate without any industry experience. Are there any specific skills, experience, or qualities that stand out?
Yeah, so we certainly hire a fresh graduate that's to join in the pharma, and I think also the for FDA they also hire quite a lot of those fresh graduate. So then based on my experience, there's many of those hiring managers who like to look for relevant experience. So the research experience, if you have done internship, that certainly is a plus. That's you're going to have a leg up in in your interview process or pre-screening of that to get to the interview. Because if you already know the pharmas and this is still where you like your career to go, and that means it's a big plus for the hiring manager to know that you are serious about your career joining pharma. And so then that's of course will be one of the things we will look at. But the other relevant things besides the internship, I think not everybody actually get internship, but then if the relevant research experience, like what type of research that you have conducted within your graduate program, like is this in the more relevant to the research questions that's more in the forefront of where that's new in the space, and then you're actually making some significant contribution to the field. That is also a plus for the hiring managers. The other thing is the other whether or not you have presentations that you have given into like professional conferences, like joint statistical meetings. Those are the things where actually showing that you are able to contributing to the scientific field, and that's you're able to present, because that's also quite a needed communication skills the pharma will look for because this is quite a collaborative field of work. So then we do look for if you have done some of those type of presentations into those scientific communities. And then there's also the computational skills, because I think we are interested in what kind of computation packages that you're familiar with, and so then it can be like shorter onboarding or like the trainings on that, right? So that's also is some of the things we're looking into the fresh PhD during your past graduate school experience.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I heard the relevant research during the PhD study, and then the relevant internship is a big plus. So Shuang, I saw you had internship during your PhD. So can you share more about it, and how did those experience contribute to your career path?
Yeah, definitely. So I was fortunate to land an internship at a biotech company called Verily Life Science. I work as a data scientist intern focusing on more the computational biology. That's very different from the pharmaceutical industry. But I would say it also had a great impact on shaping my career path. So I think one of the biggest influences like getting firsthand experience in the industry setting. It was very different from academia. So in a graduate program, I feel like the focus is more on the method development or diving deeper into the theoretical concept. But when I do my internship, I feel like it exposed me to more practical and outcome-driven projects. So like the goal was more to generate the actionable insights that could directly influences the decision-making in the drug development. I feel like another big difference was the level of the cross-functional collaboration. So in graduate school, my research project also allowed me to collaborate with different researchers from other institutes and also the physicians. But in industry, I would say I will work closely with the professionals from more diverse background, like the biologists and software engineers. So I get the chance to learn how to communicate stats insights into to non-statisticians and work as part of a larger multidisciplinary team. So I feel like the internship experience also helped me build valuable skills that are not typically emphasized in academia, like time management, like understanding the business priorities and how to adapt to a fast-paced project demands. So overall, I would say it really helps, although like the experiences are different from what I work right now, but it confirmed my interest in pursuing an industrial role after graduation.
Yeah, internship, helps us to, helps the students who are always staying campus to learn about the industry. I agree that, and it's like you said, fast paced and communication with the different teams. So, but sometimes students, not every student get the internship. So, no matter if their time schedule or the internship project, because we know the internship really requires candidates' background to match the company projects. So, Jingjing, how important is having an internship? Like you mentioned, it's a big plus, but have you ever hired someone without an internship before? And if so, what makes them stand out?
Yeah, another really great question. So then I think, we certainly have hired, but that does become fewer and fewer, I think, in the recent years, because I certainly see that a lot of students are able to get to the internship, but then in case that they have not, I think what make them stand out again is I think will be the relevant research skills. So then if their research topic and then there's the that's really relevant to the space, especially into the area that you are interested in the company. They're also having this kind of like either the interest in hiring someone with that background, and then it's basically it's a fit into that skill set. Then it will make them stand out, even if they don't have any internship experience. So then I think that certainly will still be able to hire because of it. And then the other thing again is actually if it doesn't have any internship experience, but you actually showing quite a good understanding of the problem by, giving your presentations, even if you have publications as well, that's also is a plus for if you do not have internship experience for that. And the other thing is like, those kind of like opportunity like ICS and the others. So then if you actually be able to also see that you're volunteering your time and effort to actually helping others into building something together, that sometimes also stands out. That means you are a team player, and you're also willing to learn from others and then helping others to succeed. So then that's actually also is a factor that we would consider if you do not have an internship experience. So that's what I can say for the question.
I see. So the most important thing is you show your skill set to the hiring manager, either through presentation or your publication and your collaboration work to show that you have this ability for the future work. Yeah,
Yep.
so Shuang, once you started getting the interviews, how did you prepare for them, especially for your first one? Are there any strategies you used to feel confident during the process and to show your skill set, like Jinjin said, to the hiring manager and the team?
Yeah, that's a good question. So to prepare the interviews, I feel like there are three main parts I focus on. The first one is the job talk, and second one is behavior questions, and the last one is the technical questions. So for the job talk, I usually tailor my presentation to highlight how my research could be applied in the industrial setting. So instead of like presenting too much on the theory, the model, I will emphasize the practical impact of the work. For example, one of my research topic is more like integrating the bulk EQTL with the single cell EQTL. So I would probably saying something like, how does like the single cell insights could help us to inform like the precision medicine strategies. For the second part, like the behavioral questions, I usually practice using like the STAR method. Not sure whether people heard of that, but it's like the situation, task, action, and results. So I'm using this way to structure my responses. I also try to prepare examples that can showcase the key skills like teamwork, problem solving, and managing challenges. And for the last part, the technical questions, So I started by reviewing the job description to understand what skills and experience the role emphasize, and to and be prepared to clearly explain the projects listed on my CV, including the relevant technical details such as what assumption you made, how you design your simulations, and how you approach specific statistical challenges. I think it's also important to tailor your preparation based on the team you are applying to. For example, if the role is more the clinical trial focus, maybe review relevant statistical methods like survival analysis, mixed model. If it's more like more data driven, maybe including something like the machine learning techniques or like the big data analysis skills. I think the ultimate goal is to show your skills are directly applicable to the job that the team is doing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I like your idea. You like really think about how your research could be applied to like the clinical trials or to the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, and so can you share like a memorable interview question you were asked?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the most memorable interview question I faced is like something like really caught me completely off guard. So that was it. Actually, that's for my internship. So I was asked like, what would you do if you have data from a wearable device that recorded like vital signs or activity levels? So I haven't really prepared for a scenario-based question like that before. And for a moment, my mind just like went completely blank. So I was like a little bit panicking at that time, but I do take a moment to rephrase the question and ask interviewer for clarification on like what potential data structure we have, whether it's continuous or not, how frequently it is recorded, and so on. And I just like using that time to make me refocus and think through the problem logically. So as we discuss further, I started thinking about like how to handle, for example, like longitudinal data, and mentioning using the linear mix model to connect like the repeated measurements from the wearable device to some potential health outcome I could think of. And after that, I feel like the discussion became more interactive from there. And it turns out to be a great way to showcase the thinking process. So I think from that experience, a big takeaway for me is that it's okay not to have an answer right away, but like taking a moment to clarify the question and talk through your thinking process can actually leave a strong impression and show your analytical thinking skills as well.
Yeah, thinking process. I like this idea. Yeah, so Jingjing, from your experience, can you share some like common mistakes you have observed from candidates that they made during their interviews?
Yeah, I think, certainly I think there's what I can share is the listening. I think most important thing, I think the hiring manager will be to look out to see, do you have a good listening skills? Because that was some of the things maybe underestimated or underemphasized in our educational system. Because I think for statisticians, we are working as part of the team. So then, and many of them are non-statisticians. So we're trying to understand their problem and helping them solve. So then if you cannot listen and listen well, and that becomes a problem. So then what typically, what I'm seeing, number one is that we're asking questions and then they are not really answering questions. That means they are not really listening well. The second thing is sometimes I think is the students can be too eager or too anxious to show off their skill set, and they cannot stop talking. So that means, whenever they're asked questions, they're really drag on the question for too long, giving too much details. So I think, these are the things what I'm typically would give advice to a fresh graduate is that if you're, if you heard the questions, if you don't understand it, ask for clarify. I think it's always a good thing to understand what they're really asking. Of course, many of the questions you don't need to ask or clarify. You understand what they're asking, but then keep it concise and short. And that's typically is, the three big W's, like what is the problem you're trying to solve, your research problem? And then the second thing is, what did you do to solve it? And then the third is, what is the outcome? So that is where is the outcome that's really, the hiring manager really look out for. So then having those three questions in mind, but only only 1 or 2 sentences per question. That means 6 sentences maximum to answer that. That shouldn't take more than 1 or 2 minutes to answer it. If it's too long, it's sometimes it's not going into the right track. So if the hiring managers are really wanting to know the detail, they will actually keep asking questions to dig into that, rather than you just throw out all the details and drag on the question for too long. So I think that will be some of the things I will say quite common mistakes that we can see from the interview.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the listening. I guess, yeah, maybe we can say the common insights from Jingjing and Shuang. Listening, asking, and have the interactive conversation. Yeah, so Jingjing said, listening, understanding the question, what is the question, how to solve this question, and Shuang, when she shared her memorable interview question, she asked, what is that question, what is the data? This gives her, I guess, both time and also make this a interactive conversation. Yeah, I think we still have some time. So maybe Shuang, after you joining the industry, starting your position, what were the biggest surprise or challenge you faced? And how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I was coming from a more statistical genetics background. I feel like one of the biggest challenges I faced is like how to adjust to the world of clinical trial studies, because I wasn't very familiar with the terminology, like the process, or the documentation involved, and also like the fast-paced nature of working on the study. So I sometimes feel overwhelmed. Because I'm still relatively new to the area. I'm still trying to figure out a way to like facing the challenges. But I think one of the things I'm trying to do is like being proactive in overcoming that. So I try to like reading through the task on my own to understand the basics, and then I will reach out to my seniors or other colleagues in the team for guidance. I think one thing I've learned quickly is that in this industry is very much like a team effort. You're not expected to figure out everything on your own. So I also make a point to get feedback from my manager early on to stay on track and improve quickly. So in my like study meetings, there are still moments of when I don't feel like I fully understand what certain decisions are made, but I will see them as like the chances to learn. So I take notes, observe the discussion, and gradually gain more confidence and experience through the way.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, starting, that's very different from as a student. So since it's almost 45, let's go to our Q&A. So we have the first question here. All pharma companies seem to want experience. How do you get your first experience? Yeah, I guess this question Shuang already answered. Yeah, from your internship. Then let's go to the next one. So building on the first question, do you think a referral is essential for securing a job in the pharma industry, given today's job market? It seems like the supply of early career statisticians and data scientists exceeds the demand. A referral is essential. Yeah, maybe Jingjing, do you have any insights?
Yeah, I think I can take on these questions. I think, from I think what Sheng, I think based on the question tag, that's the name from the question who's originally from. Sheng, yes, I think, currently whenever there's a job postings, there's actually quite a lot of resumes we receive. Because what I can share is we actually have some of the postings out, and within like 7 days, well over 150 plus resumes we receive. So that's basically means that it becomes difficult for hiring managers to screen out the relevant resumes quickly. So then if you are able to secure a referral, so that's sending directly to the hiring manager for their attention, that certainly give you a leg up. However, that also depends on who's referring you and then how credible that person is and how well they can actually put in the referral worlds. And so that means that this person referring you knows you well. That's how can actually you can trust this person's judgment, saying yes, this is I think if this candidate was referred by this internal referral, the candidate, the colleagues, and I can trust that he is confident that he are referring at the right candidate with the good qualification. So I think it could be pros and cons on that, but then they certainly will get into the hiring manager right away. It just whether or not you are still need to. It's better for you to be able to having a good having someone who knows you well to refer. I think that will be the preferred approach, so that they can actually put in more words for you based on their own experience interactions with you directly.
Thanks for explaining. Yeah, so if you don't have a referral, so don't need to be in panic.
That's right.
Yeah. So the next question, with multiple divisions within Pharma, is there a preference for hiring PhD students with clinical trial experience compared to preclinical animal studies working with genetics data? Are preclinical and clinical statisticians two teams joined career paths in Pharma?
Yeah, maybe I can take I can take on this as well. I think Yuven, good to see you here. I think these are the things typically also hiring PhD students. I don't necessarily see them different for educational background or the experience that they require differently. Because I think for statisticians, whatever methodology you are developing, and then programming language you use isn't like that different between preclinical or clinical or some other areas within the pharma. So then that's quite a transferable skill across. So then I think it really depends on where the team that you are applying for have a vacancy, or they have that particular skill set that will require for doing that. And having said it, I think there is a bigger demand typically in the clinical trial space. So then the preclinical space have less demand on the statisticians just because of the job posting itself and the requirement. But then I think the skill set itself, it shouldn't be too much different.
Yeah, thanks for the insights. And let's go to the next one. What suggestions do you have for new babies at academia wanting to change direction to pharma? It is sometimes hard to justify your decision for the hiring manager, specifically if you are changing direction from undergraduate focused universities. I do have publications in biostats, but looking for some more advice.
I suppose I will also take on that because there was asking for the hiring managers. I think, for academia wanting to change direction to pharma, I think we see that all the time. I think, it not necessarily puts you in advantage or disadvantage. I think it's really looking for why are you changing directions? And then, what happens with your current position that you wanted to shift? That is more the behind the reasons I will, as a hiring manager, I would like to know. Is it a passion that's you have for pharma, or is it something else? So that's also that will be becoming the more factor for hiring manager to decide on that. And then supposedly if you've already been in academia, you will have more experience with either the research or the publication. So then I think that was typically give you a better advantage than a fresh graduate. So then it's really the motivation behind why you wanted to switch. So then I think Sean already gave some of the really good answers in her earlier conversations. I think for if your passion is to seeing a real implication in the real world, and then changing from academia to pharma is typically where I see that's impact can directly making into the daily lives of everybody. So I think that will be a perfect good reasons why you wanted to change to pharma in that sense. And then if you have other motivations, because I've also heard based on my past experience, because we have academia friends who's already got tenure, but they decide to shift to pharma because their personal experience. They have close relatives that has been diagnosed with cancer, and then that make them, working in academia, they wouldn't be necessarily understand the nuances of the drug development and until they're facing the decisions of selecting which treatment they really need to get for their loved ones. And then that the pharma really speaks to them at the time where they see the real impact of how the farmer can work towards their loved ones. So then that makes them the personal motivation why they want to shift to pharma. And I think that speaks to the volume of they wanted to really make a significant contribution. So they successfully switched to that because of it. So I think that will hopefully, give you some of that direction.
Yeah, thanks for the valuable insights. So the next question, is there a publication requirement or preference for the pharma positions? Yeah, I guess Jingjing already answered this question. There is a preference for publication. Yeah, and the next one, there are many jargons or abbreviations in pharma statistics, and most of these explanations could be found in the internet, but some are not very easy. For example, what is stage 3 quality control? So how Biostat implemented it? Do you have any suggestions for understanding them in work or interview? Yeah, maybe Shuang,
Yeah, I
you
can
take that?
take on this first. Yeah. So, because I was like in the junior level for now, so I do feel like nervous of like getting a lot of like abbreviations I don't understand. So I think I just like don't bother to ask, right? So when I see something I don't know, I usually just send out a message to a colleague or a senior first. If they can answer that right away, that's great. And for some like design specific question, I usually directly talk to my manager. And for like a study I'm leading right now, I do see a lot of things I am not sure about. I just like having a sit on a one-on-one with the manager, and maybe he can point me to someone another study I can learn from. So I don't typically think that's like that's really things like that really bothers me. So just take a chance to learn from others. I think that would be great. Yeah, but yeah, maybe Jingjing can take on from there. Maybe there are more strategies that help us like understand that quickly for yourself. Yeah.
I think, if you're interested in learning that, I think there's some of, go to like the webinars or the other scientific, conferences will help you understand more, because that's basically is when statisticians who are working in that field can be able to explain, or if you have questions, you can directly ask them to explain more. So I think that was the part of the learning you can get and to understand it better. So I think that would be another venue I would suggest.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing. And the next question, what kind of software or technical skill that students should focus on now?
Yeah, I can try to answer that. So for me, in the like within the study team, I think usually programming team using like SAS. So I do think we need to learn like the SAS syntax. At least you have to understand that. But for like more research oriented projects, I still like coding in R to explore it on my own. So I think that's typically the two software I use daily.
SAS, yeah, I agree. SAS is important because sometimes you need to validate their SAS code. And yeah. So the next question is regarding the recruiter. Do you believe partnering with a recruiter would be beneficial for your job search? What would be some advice if we are working with a recruiter? So, Shuang, did you work with a recruiter during your job search?
Not really. I'm not quite sure how to understand a partner with a recruiter mean here. But I usually just like job search on the official website and LinkedIn, just like do the application on my own. I might not have any insight for this question.
So, Jingjing, do you say do you know or do
Yeah,
you during
we
a hiring process?
For some of the positions, there's we certainly partner up with recruiters, and that's typically is more as a higher level positions, as they were more specific targeting those search, because recruiter will have a large network for their, they would typically knows a lot of like great candidate who are already in some of those organizations, having those skill sets that's the new position will require. So then partner up with them for those particular job search typically will be very beneficial. For a fresh graduate, I think, partner up with a recruiter is another venue for you to be able to get to the job. And then I think because recruiter, as I alluded to, they have a large network. So if they already have know the hiring manager themselves, that's, they can directly refer you to the hiring manager directly rather than you go through the channel of website and apply for that.
Yeah, also a new thing for me. Then the next question, how would you compare the hiring process of an internship and a full-time position? For example, the qualification requirements, number of rounds and focus of the interview.
Yeah, I can take on that. So,
Sure.
so for my internship, I serve as the role of the data scientist in computational biology. I feel that's really different from like a clinical trial interview, but I do have like the internship interview at that time. I feel like usually it takes like less round for internship, and it usually requires like the research topics you're doing that like highly align with what they want you to do during like usually like the summertime. You only like 2 to 3 months. They don't have much time to train you. So I think how you demonstrate like your research topics, that is like one of the key in the internship interview. But for my own experience, because that is more for a data scientist role, I also taking like the coding test as well. I don't think that's a typical thing for the trial interviews. And for a full-time position, I feel like you have like more panel interview. They also value your communication skills, how you like talk to others and your personalities as well. There are a big focus on the behavioral questions. And another big difference is like you have like almost like 45 minutes to do the job talk to demonstrate your research topics and your other skills as well. So I would say usually the full-time position takes more rounds, and they take like 2 days to meet all the people in that team and the cross-functionally as well. But I feel like the preparation is like similar. You should be able to walk down your CV and clearly demonstrate what you've done in your PhD or in your program in like short sentences. Like you don't need to go through the details at that time. If you're interested, they will ask you follow-ups on that, and be prepared for the job talk, and also show your communication skill. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So we are at the time. So now, we have 2 more questions. Maybe we will follow up the question in our follow-up email. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shuang and Jingjing, for sharing your incredible insights. Yeah, I will turn it over to Jessica to close our webinar.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for the talk. So, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Sheila, for all the questions. And we'll close the meeting, and we will save this recording and post on our ICSA website and also the YouTube, so people can still put their questions on their comments if they still have any questions. Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you,
Thank
Jingjing
you.
and Sean.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.